This is the Final Whistle, the podcast from the Wrexham AFC media team. Final score from Ewood Park, Blackburn Rovers Youth 3, Wrexham Youth 1, and Wrexham go out of the FA Youth Cup at the second round, but an admirable effort by Stephen Wright's team. They did really well to get this far in the competition, a run which has given them lots of really good experience, and well, it was a heroic rearguard action by them. They showed good organisation, and for one fantastic half hour they led away against a Premier League academy side, so huge kudos going to both the coaches and the young players. Oh, they endured a torrid and lucky start, though terribly fortunate not to fall behind in the opening minute, as Blackburn immediately were on the front foot, getting the ball forwards into dangerous areas. The ball played in, a shot was scuffed, Wright hit a shot which struck the post. It came back out to Butterworth, whose shot from close range was blocked. And when the ball span out wide and Wrexham thought that the danger was over, it was picked up by Lynch, who swung in a miss-hit cross from the left-hand side, which went over and clipped the top of the bar on the way through for the goal kick. So a really nerve-wracking opening minute for Wrexham. And they were lucky again in the third minute. Andrew Jackson, who up and down the right-hand side showed terrific energy for the 7th President of the United States. Sorry, that's too good a line to waste. And was very impressively injured in the second half. Stuck a good early cross in. Butterworth scored, but he was just about offside. After 5 minutes of battening down the hatches, though, Wrexham for the first time managed to emerge and very nearly scored themselves. Excellent work down the right-hand side, a driven cross coming in from Dan Stevens, which came all the way across the 6-yard box, only a couple of yards out. And when it was cleared, the ball's driven into a similar area again. Both times, Blackburn desperate to survive and having to scramble it behind for a corner in the end. And from that corner came Wrexham's opening goal in the 6th minute, beg your pardon. The corner swung to the far post. Bobby Beaumont made one a really good header there, planted it back across the keeper, Campbell. He made a superb save, lunging to his left to push it away, but it led to a scramble in the goalmouth, which ended with Dan Stevens lunging in and poking the ball in from close range, and Wrexham fantastically had the lead at Ewood Park. And admirably for Wrexham, for the next half hour or so, essentially, Blackburn, for all their possession, and they did have a heck of a lot of possession, created nothing. Wrexham defended well, the back four stood firm. And Blackburn, who, like I said, a Premier League academy side and played a sort of neat football you'd expect from a side of that calibre, were moving the ball around very nicely. The centre midfield playmaker, John Buckley, was splitting the centre-backs and trying to prompt from the back. And they were working it around. But the two banks of four for Wrexham sat deep and Blackburn couldn't create. In fact, the next chance of any note was created by Wrexham. A breakaway. McGregor did well to feed the ball forwards into Thorne, and he helped her on to Niall Freeman, who hit an early 25-yard strike, which was looking like it was going down into the bottom right corner. However, Campbell got down well to hold it. Within a minute, though, Blackburn had carved out a chance, the ball falling to Wilson on the edge of the area, who struck the ball powerfully. Pilkington managed to get his head to it and deflect it just over the bar. But unfortunately for Wrexham, they'd be punished from the corner. Not for the first or the last time. Wrexham caught out by a short corner. Blackburn were quite happy to commit 3 men to short corner routines to try and outnumber Wrexham. And on this occasion it worked. They worked it really nicely, feeding it short, then to the edge of the area, then back out wide to one of the players who were by the corner flag. A ball given in the end to Callum Rice, who was a constant threat on the left-hand side or behind the striker. He cut in, ripped a terrific shot with his right foot, which beat Dane Rigby, hit the post, came back out at speed, struck Ben Barrett in the chest and went in. And a very unfortunate own goal. Nothing Barrett could do about that. And Wrexham then found themselves needing to cling on till half-time, and unfortunately they failed to do that. Blackburn on the counter-attack, a poked ball down the right channel. Barrett at full stretch, with his body shape not quite right, couldn't properly intercept it, and the ball rolled off his foot to Lynch, played in the hole behind the striker Butterworth. He did well with an immediate, vicious finish into the roof of the net before Rigby could properly get his positioning right. And for the last 3 minutes of the half, plus a couple of minutes at a time, Wrexham were then clinging on just to make sure that the tide didn't completely go away from them. But it didn't. And so they came out in the second half, still in the game. They still had to defend and hope to break away, although it must be said that as they on their breakaways, they were looking threatening. Blackburn failing really to get close enough to them when Wrexham moved the ball around. And Wrexham, on the rare occasions they could cross the halfway line with numbers, passed the ball around confidently. And in fact, they had the first chance of the second half. Nice work by McCarry, who played the captain's role in the middle of midfield, and Brandon Burrows, who looked skillful but sadly took a knock after about an hour and limping on for quite a while longer in the end, had to come off. They combined nicely to tee up McGregor in the hole. He sidestepped his man nicely and from 25 yards just pulled his shot a little bit and it went wide of the left post. After that, though, Blackburn started to turn the screw. A corner swung in, was palmed away by Rigby when the ball was stabbed back in. Butterworth, the free header 6 yards out, should have done better, but getting real action on it with his header, real neck muscles working with that, planted it over the bar when he probably should have scored. Then it was Wright on the left-hand side, teasing Dan Stevens, getting around the outside and driving a vicious ball into the 6-yard box. Barrett driving it over his own crossbar, not that far off target, but having said that, again, he did a good job there. He would have been very unfortunate to get a second unlucky own goal against his name. Then it was Lynch spinning beyond Stevens, who clearly was aware that I was a yellow card, he couldn't foul him. He cut in from the left-hand side, got to the corner of the box, hit a beautifully stuck right-footer, trying to curl it into the top right corner, just got too much on it, and it went wide. Within a minute, another opportunity, and really, they should have scored. Evans, a substitute, ripping in across. Butterworth 10 yards out, striking the shot which was blocked. It fell beautifully for Lynch, 6 yards out, all on his own. It looked like he had to score, but he hit it past the left post, a real sitter. And 8 minutes later, Wrexham looked like they might punish Blackburn with their one real chance of the second half. Thorne doing well to poke a through ball. Freeman running through the middle on his own. Great work by Campbell, the goalkeeper, whose starting position was high and showed good pace, getting out of the penalty area and just beating Freeman to it to lash the ball clear via a deflection off a defender. The closing stages saw Blackburn back on top. A free kick partially clears to Butterworth 8 yards out, and on the swivel he did brilliantly a superb volley on the turn through a crowd, which drew an excellent save from Dane Rigby, getting down low to his right and pushing the ball away from a corner. From that corner, Rigby did really well again. The ball swung to the far post. Wright got goal side of his man, a free header 6 yards out, met it with power, downwards header. Rigby lunging to his left did excellently to push the ball away. There was a controversial moment a couple of minutes later as well, a breakaway for Blackburn down the right-hand side. Vale cutting into the box. Barrett lunging in. Did he catch him? Was it a penalty? Looking at the replay, I think probably not. It may have been just outside the box. I'm not sure Barrett actually made contact with Vale. I've got to be honest, though, at the time it looked like a penalty. The referee, who was a bit erratic in his decision-making, decided to wave play on and was right on that occasion. Whether he was right in the first minute of added time, when he did give a penalty, is a moot point. By this point, Wrexham, knowing that they just had to throw caution to the wind, were committing too many men forwards. They had to. It's added time. They were 2-1 down. It was death or glory stuff. They were pouring players into the box and then were getting caught on the break. On this occasion, a free kick caught by Campbell. He quickly initiated a counter-attack. Blackburn had men over down the left-hand side. It was picked up by Wilson, who drove into the box. And as he cut inside, Ryan Williams lunged in, the lone defender, and clipped him in the area. The referee played on because Butterworth was on his own in the box. But Rigby was very quick off his line, forced Butterworth to try and go round him, had a heavy touch Butterworth, and the ball fell to the offside Wilson, who tapped it in. The referee clearly gave advantage, but when the linesman's flag went up, he went back on his decision and gave a penalty to Blackburn for the initial challenge by Williams. Dubious whether he's really entitled to do that, having played advantage, but he did so, and as it turned out, Wrexham got away with it. Butterworth stepped up, drove it powerfully through the middle, but Dane Rigby was the penalty shootout hero in the last round, and he was the hero again, getting a good block in, and the ball ricocheted away to safety. However, Wrexham had to continue taking crazy risks trying to get men forwards. They continued to leave gaps at the back, and in the end they were punished. 93rd minute, the ball driven away. Beaumont found himself completely exposed, the only man back, and Butterworth, who'd been threatening to score all right, and maybe probably should have done before this point, did well to skip beyond him and then drive the ball into the roof, past Dane Rigby, before the keeper again could set himself, and Blackburn Rovers had won. So, Wrexham out of the FA Youth Cup, but more important than the result really is the performance. This is all about player development, and there was an awful lot of promise to take from this, from Rigby's brave shot stopping to the back four, who all defended grittily. Stevens is a right back built like a centre back, and he defended like that. He repelled an awful lot of things, apart from the fact that he scored the goal. He was slightly hampered in the second half as Wrexham took more chances by the fact that he was on a yellow card, and when he found himself exposed against some good wide players, you could see he was aware that he couldn't lunge in. But yeah, he did put an admirable shift in at right back. The two centre backs, Barrett and Beaumont, won an awful lot in the air. They were both mobile as well. They were both aggressive. Beaumont goes threatening from set pieces, set up the goal, and they had a lot to be proud of. And Ryan Williams showed good movement and good energy up and down the left-hand side, trying to take the ball forwards, and a tenacious tackler as well. In midfield, well, Scott McCarry put in a real captain's shift. He moved the ball around well, passed it intelligently, played with his head up, and won some hard tackles. He got a yellow card for a real crunching tackle, which I thought was a little bit unfortunate, actually. I thought he'd won the ball, but he was fighting away, and I must say it didn't hamper him. He was on a yellow. He continued to crunch into challenges and did well to try and keep Blackburn away from his back four. Brandon Burrows in centre mid, a more slight figure, nice ball player though, looked like he could also create. He was put into the hole later on in the match. His effectiveness hampered by the fact he got a heavy knocker about 10 minutes into the second half, but he clearly had potential. He's the one player in the side, of course, who's actually played a first team match, having played against Stamford in the FA Cup last year. On the flank, Sam Pilkington and Jack Thorne both put in really good shifts, of necessity often having to do their work in their own half rather than trying to get forwards and support the forward players, who were Cameron McGregor, who off the lone striker did some really nice work, more of a second striker, really trying to get up in support and run in beyond. But he struck some good strikes from the edge of the area, had a little stint on the right side of midfield, and put in some good work there too. And then Niall Freeman, who got some chances in the pre-season this summer with the first team, who worked ever so hard, won one terrific header against a big centre-back, Barnes, and was really diligent, constantly chasing and working. It was just a shame for him that the only opportunities he had were striking the ball from outside the box, because if Wrexham could have put a bit more pressure on, he'd have liked to have shown what he could do in the penalty area. The substitutes did well as well. Bickerstaff came on very late on, but couldn't really have a chance to show what he could do. But Sargent came on in midfield, and he was a measured presence, a lot of good early passes, good range to his passes, and good strength as well to his play. He's a big figure to have in the middle of the pitch. And then as well, Buckley came on, playing up front and often pulling out to the left-hand side, and he looked threatening, was cutting in onto his right foot and trying to work opportunities. In fact, after Rigby's second save, he nearly set up a breakaway goal, cutting inside and playing an excellent switch, which is only denied by a lunging tackle on the edge of the area, which led to a Blackburn player, Patton, the left back, getting a yellow card. So lots of promise for Wrexham. Stephen Wright was justifiably proud of his young lads, and we should all be. A good performance by Wrexham. They may be out of the FA Youth Cup, but they just showed that the future is bright at the racecourse. Final score, Blackburn Rovers 3, Wrexham 1. Podcast from the Wrexham AFC media team.